As the liberal paradigm collapses, fundamentalist conservatism and progressive leftism seek to fill the void. But both will fail because they lack the crucial element which builds and preserves civilization, the vitality and strength of instincts found in the conqueror, the explorer, the hero, the barbarian, found in every people who stand at the origin of a great civilization. And today I want to talk to you about how we might restore that vitality within ourselves and within our civilization. I believe this is the most important question, but up until now, the path forward has remained murky to me. But through the fog, I think I am beginning to see the rays of the sun. I, as well as most of you watching, are in an interesting position because we do not fit into the contemporary right or left. Most of us consider ourselves to be right-wing, yet we hold many beliefs that might be considered liberal or quote-unquote degenerate by conservatives. Yet I find both the American conservative right and the woke left to be degenerate. On the one hand, the leftists claim to be environmentalists, yet they attack nature and life at every turn. They advocate for people to have less children. They attack the reality of biology, of biological genders. They attack and seek to deconstruct and eradicate the biological gender roles of man and woman. They condemn the celebration of beauty and strength as harmful and exclusionary. The list goes on. In short, they attack everything which supports life and fertility. They seek to denature man, to vulgarize and degrade the human body. The Christian right will often call the left pagan because they're worshipping the body and indulging in hedonism. But this attack obviously shows no understanding of historical paganism. Yes, the left promotes nudity, but this nudity is always vulgar and repulsive. Compare a Tekashi 6ix9ine video to the statues of the ancients, which celebrated the beauty and power of the human form, overflowing with vitality and vigor. They are nothing alike. In fact, they are directly opposed, and calling them equivalent is simply dishonest and ignorant. The scene of a contemporary club is nothing like the deeply profound religious rituals of Dionysus and Demeter, which celebrated fertility and the rebirth of life out of death. Yet the belief that the left is pagan is held by many mainstream conservative Christians, even some holding office, as well as Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire crowd. Yet to me, they seem just as decadent as the left, insofar as their values represent an expression of sick and weakened life, decadent in a Nietzschean sense. Though they do a decent job at defending fertility and large families, just as with leftist environmentalism, the rest of their ideology undermines and contradicts this virtue. When they see the beautiful human body, the ultimate expression of the fertility and abundance of nature, they shrink away from it and condemn it. Their view is that every European civilization before Christianity was degenerate and decadent, and that Christianity came from the East to at last give these uncivilized Greeks, these barbarian Germans, morality, at last teach them what it is to be a good man, what it is to be virtuous. When you speak to them about the manly virtues of valor, glory, courage, heroism, the manly desire to be wild and free, to explore and conquer, they tell you that real men get a good job and take their children to soccer practice. Real men are good providers and fathers. And while I think this is an important element of masculinity, this is not what men, especially young men, desire. For men, fertility is a byproduct of adventure and conquest. Telling men to get married at 20 and have 20 kids does not inspire them. Figures like Ragnar and Hercules inspire young men, not because they had so many sons, which is admirable, but because of their heroic feats. Fertility follows from the manly heroic instincts. Virtue stems from virility, not the other way around. You cannot moralize a man into being like Hercules or Alexander the Great. And it is the same with women. While there is a large reaction against feminism among both men and women in the West, and you see many women on social media expressing their desire to return to more traditional roles, the prudish and frankly bland message which the conservative right pushes, no sex before marriage, marry young, cook for your husband, and do your kids' laundry, is never going to capture the imagination and hearts of Western women. This messaging does so well because it appeals to the maternal instinct, which is probably the most important aspect of womanhood. But the West has always been at its best when its women are wild and fearsome. Spartan and Germanic women, while very devoted to motherhood, were also to be feared. Noble women in Rome and medieval Europe were able to obtain ample power, and even in ancient Athens, where the women were apparently housebound, women were celebrated in their religion and literature. The conservative right essentially advocates for a soft-core Sharia law in the West, but this despotic and prudish conservatism is completely and totally opposed to everything which has historically made the West great and unique. The fact that much of the right advocates for this is not necessarily a result of their Christianity per se, since there have been many forms of chivalric and heroic Christianity, but true Abrahamic values and religions like fundamentalist Islam and fundamentalist forms of Christianity and Judaism are completely alien to the West. I think most of you will more or less agree with most of what I've said so far. So where does that leave us? We who are stranded between right and left, who are neither liberals nor conservatives. We, the sole defenders of beauty, strength, vitality, vigor, the sole celebrators of life, fertility, and nature, the last defenders of heroic virtues and classical values. Though it is not quite clear yet where we are, it's clear that we are not alone. On the new right, especially online, several factions have arisen who promote and defend these values. I think the best name for this belief system is vitalism. Though Wikipedia denounces the scientific theory of vitalism as pseudoscience, I believe it is instinctually self-evident and philosophically crucial to the core of this new cluster of beliefs which I am trying to describe. There is something in a lion that a flea does not have. When we see a lion, we are struck by its beauty and power. We are put in awe. And while a flea may be fascinating, it does not have the same effect on us. What does the lion have which the flea lacks? The lion is filled with a dynamic and explosive energy, filled with grace and poise. You could say that it is a more complex organism, though I'm not sure if that's the case. The fact is, the lion is just more. It has more substance, more life force than the flea. The lion is filled with a vital, powerful energy and being, which is the source of our feeling of beauty and awe. The same is the case when we see a Greek statue, as compared with a tired, disheveled fellow with spindly arms and a pudgy belly slouched over at a desk. The man with a beautiful, well-proportioned physique, bronzed skin, and a spring in his step is more full of life than the desk wagey. And while this may not be scientifically provable, it does not have to be. The visceral and instinctual understanding which we all have, and the language which tries to approximate it, is enough. And I believe that the term vitalism captures it perfectly. The word vitality comes from the Latin word vitae, meaning life. Someone who is vital is full of life. The Latin word vis, whose plural is vires, also fits nicely into this constellation of ideas. It means force, power, violence. Someone who is vital is filled with force, power, and violence. And we also have the Latin words vir, meaning man, and virtus, meaning bravery, fortitude, virtue. To be virtuous is to be manly, courageous, bold, strong, and to be vital, filled with force, power, violence, and life. This is a truly pro-life worldview, one which promotes and celebrates healthy life, and brings about beauty, fertility, and all of the elements of great civilizations which conservatives think they are conserving with their prudish moralism. And it is a worldview which implicitly and explicitly seeks to not only preserve, as the left seeks to, but also strengthen nature.
This video is an excerpt from the ARC's exclusive podcast. For the full 30-minute episode and access to a private Telegram community dedicated to the creation and implementation of Vitalism, check the links in the description. You can also download the art from this channel on Ko-fi for free or donate. Thank you for your support. It makes this channel possible.